Osiris was locked in the box and thrown into the ocean. Osiris found the box, pulled it out, and unfortunately he was already dead. However, Seth found out that Isis now had the sort of coffin, shall we say, and he came and snatched that and chopped up Osiris's body into 14 parts and spread them around Egypt. And Isis then went looking for those parts and actually found those parts, all but one. You can probably guess which part of the man's anatomy she couldn't find. However, this is a long story. She then found that she could still get his essence, and if you know what I'm on about, a man's essence that will be able to produce children. So she artificially inseminated herself to give herself a baby so that the baby would be the heir of Egypt. I'll follow for more. What has the rock got to do with ancient Egypt or the Anunnaki? I'll tell you shortly. So Isis, who was the wife stroke sister of Osiris, who got chopped up by Set, she found most of the pieces except for, shall we say, the pea shooter part. She actually found enough to be able to artificially inseminate herself, and she had a child called Horus. Now, of course, this is all to do with bloodlines and who will rule Egypt after they die. So Seth would have killed Horus, her newborn son. Now, bearing in mind this was a miracle birth, so keep that in mind when we get to Jesus. But he grew up being taught by Osiris's fans in martial arts, but it wasn't really martial arts. It was more wrestling, because as we know, the Anunnaki did the wrestling. And thus we get back to the rock and the rest. Horus's mother, Isis, hid Horus for the longest time and was getting him trained by women, yes, and men of the Osiris's clan, who obviously we know Osiris got killed by Set. So Horus was trained in martial arts, but if you watch my last video, you know it's not technically not the martial arts that we know and love. Now, eventually, Horus was of an age and a skill that he could now say to the Anunnaki gods, I am the rightful heir. Now, at this point, Seth was in charge because he'd murdered Osiris, but Horus actually, in terms of bloodline, was due to be the heir. Now, this obviously caused a lot of problems, and the Anunnaki gods let them carry on as they were for the time being. However, you've got to watch the next video. I'm running out of time. Some really disgusting stuff happened next. You may remember in a previous video I said that Horus and Set may have had a homosexual relationship. Technically, it might not be true. And the reason for that is because there's so many different versions, but one version is that after Horus came out and said that he should be rightful heir to Egypt, and the Anunnaki sort of said, well, you know, sort it out yourselves. Horus and Isis, which was actually Set's mother, decided to have a banquet type thing and invite Set. Now, Set came along, and Set, at this point, decided to throw his seed, if you know what I'm on about, it's a seed that could produce babies, at Horus, in order that if it went on Horus, then he would be underneath Set in terms of, in terms of who would be the rightful heir. But guess what happened next? Set had tried to throw his man seed over Horus. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and Horus caught it, which means he wasn't underneath Set in terms of lineage now, because Set's manly seeds didn't quite work. However, Isis, who was actually Set's sister, Isis had put Horus's seed in the salad that was at the banquet that Set was eating. So that means Set now had inside him the seed of Horus, and that's where we get the homosexuality possibly coming into it, where it's not really the way we thought it was, in the way I say that these ancient texts in Egypt, you've got to read between the lines sometimes. So that now means Horus was rightful heir.